Our goal as law enforcement is to stop the threat.
Bring in the black suspect, please. Bring in the black actor. Under no circumstances, take them in alive. So in these scenarios, remember, assume that they're going to kill you, even if they look unarmed.
So would you have shot?
That's really hard.
No, it's not really hard.
Listen, we've only got 30 minutes left, all right? If they might have a gun, just shoot them. What's your problem?
Look in the mirror and ask yourself, can I kill a kid? Can I shoot a grandma? Can I shoot a mom?
I get to kill kids? Oh, fucking based.
She ends up stabbing one of them.
Hey, get up! Bang, 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 bang!
Black Lives Matter, you guys know the drill!
Our goal as law enforcement is to stop the threat.
Okay. What's this? Frontline PBS. How might training impact whom, when, and how police officers shoot? Let's have a look at this.
Our goal as law enforcement is to stop the threat. It's not to hurt someone. It's not to kill someone. It's to
Police get their basic training in Utah during 16 weeks at Peace Officers Standards and Training, known as POST. They spend time inside the classroom and out, and towards the end go through 5 days of intensive scenario training.
5 days? 5 days? Jesus, that doesn't sound like much, does it? 4 months. Holy moly.
Salt Lake Tribune reporter Peyton Harkins and producer Abby Ellis were allowed to observe sessions over several months.
What is the most important thing we got to take care of when we first get into...
It's only 5 days, but it is quite intense, okay? From what I hear, they only have 30-minute lunch breaks, okay? So don't worry about that.
Officer and scene safety.
Sergeant Scott Lauritsen oversees the scenario training at Post.
Do we continue our investigation?
The absolute most important thing is officer safety. So all of the other procedural stuff that they learn will be at their own individual agencies. And so we really highlight that officer safety issue.
Do we allow people to point guns at us? No. We go home. Those that we're dealing with will go home if they choose to, right? But we go home, we protect ourselves, protect our partners, protect those innocent bystanders.
Was there anything that happened during the argument?
Hey, why are the cops here?
The cadets are put through role-playing, from traffic stops,
You ran that stop sign over there.
domestic violence situations, to dealing with someone experiencing a mental health crisis.
We have role players and an evaluator. We have guidelines and kind of how we want the role players to respond to certain stimulus that the cadets are giving them.
Is there a weapon behind there?
I haven't seen one.
You don't know. Will our officer safety become laxed in these, or will it become heightened? But what are you seeing?
Relax. I just want to get down to his level of training. Talk
Okay,
more.
so you're trying to be
Damn.
empathetic at the sacrifice of your officer safety.
And so as we're going through these different scenarios, we're trying to get them to understand the importance of, if I'm going to be safe, I have to understand everything that's going on around me.
Cassie, it's police, come out and talk to us, would you?
We're not coming out.
You're not coming out?
The instructors push them to make life and death decisions.
Put the gun down.
In 5 days? Jesus
Cassie,
Christ.
can you put the gun down for me? You come out with one Mike free.
No, stop. You see the problem here? What happened to our officer safety?
Down the toilet.
Why are we not recognizing that as a gun pointed at us?
Listen. Listen, you gotta listen, there's only one option. There's only one way to deal with this. You've got to pull the trigger. You've got to pull the trigger, okay? There's only one way.
When you think of a gun be pointed at you, what do you think? You think this, right?
Imagine if right, okay. Bring in the black suspect, please. Bring in the black actor. Bring in the black actor, and they're like, right, now we're gonna teach you what to do if you've got a black suspect, okay? And it's just like savage, you know. So in these scenarios, remember, shoot first, ask questions later, okay? Assume that they're going to kill you, even if they look unarmed. They might have some weapons hidden. They normally do. And yeah. Under no circumstances, take them in alive.
Do we think of this or whatever it is? Is that what we think of?
No.
Seems casual. It doesn't seem threatening.
Okay.
Well, she's spinning it
And where is her finger?
on the trigger, right? But that's why.
So would you have shot?
That's really hard.
No, it's not really hard.
It is hard for me.
It's really simple.
Because if I shot her and then I don't think...
Do you let a gun be pointed at you?
Yeah, exactly. Listen, if you actually end up killing a black suspect, don't worry. Just go into your vehicle, and there'll be a special slot that you can go to, where you'll find a clean weapon, and you can place it by the body and make it look like they were armed. That's standard procedure for the police. Okay. Hey, Fall Guy. Thanks for the sub. No, listen. In the current circumstances we've got, in all seriousness, yeah, sure. I think that 5 days of training is inadequate. Obviously, I'm not an expert on this kind of stuff, but it seems to me, look, 5 days of training for this particular aspect would be inadequate, right? I appreciate that police officers aren't supposed to be like special forces, right? But if you look at like special forces training, which will involve like buildings and going into buildings, breaching buildings, stuff like that. I appreciate the roles are a bit different, but like some of the training that special forces soldiers receive is like fucking a very long time for these sorts of situations. And it seems like 5 days when there's certain circumstances they might have to engage in like, say, an urban environment where there's someone with a gun in a building and they're trying to deal with that. Like, you would have thought they would have more significant training in that circumstance, right? Do you see what I mean? Like, I'm not saying that being a police officer is the same as being in the special forces, but I'm just saying that, like, if you're going into like a specialized role, essentially, you would expect there to be more training for these sorts of situations.
Yes or no?
I want to say no, but...
Do you let a gun be pointed at your partner? Then what's the argument? Why is it so hard?
Because we have to live with it.
You're in the wrong profession, my friend, if you can't live with that.
Jesus Christ.
How many of you have made that decision?
I mean, listen, that is grim. The person there clearly has got something about him where he's saying like, well, I've got to live with it. Jesus Christ. I appreciate that they've got to like, have a degree of like, if someone's dangerous, you've got to deal with it and maybe you might end up killing them. But Jesus, that was a bit fucking callous, wasn't it?
1 out of 7. You are 3 weeks from that being a real gun, a real bullet, a real death. And you don't know if you can live with that? Wow. How many brothers do you have out here? How many sisters? They mean less to you than a mental subject. You go home, you soul search, and you figure it out. And if that question hasn't been answered tomorrow, I suggest you don't come back.
Jesus.
Being a police officer, you may in your career be required to take a life. When you're faced with that situation, if you have not come to the reality that you may have to do that, and now you're processing through it, how effective is your decision going to be? So yeah, absolutely, to put on this badge and to put a gun on your hip to go into somebody's house to protect them, if you haven't made that decision that taking someone's life may be a possibility, it's too late then.
I mean, this is like worlds away. I can't imagine a situation of like a regular police beat copper, presuming that's what these people are going to be, of having that sort of crazy of interaction. Appreciate there's guns in America, it's a different circumstance in some ways, but that is like crazy to me, Jesus. That to me is just all wrong. It's why it's only 5 days. Listen, we've only got 30 minutes left, all right? If they might have a gun, just shoot them. What's your problem? If you can't do that, then go home. Like, just get over it. Like, Jesus Christ, what the fuck? This is mental.
We don't want to shoot people, okay? But who makes that decision? Bear with me for a minute. When you picture criminal, what do you think? Have you pictured somebody you love? Look in the mirror and ask yourself, can I kill a kid? Can I shoot a grandma? Can I shoot a mom? Can I shoot a dad? Can I shoot a brother? Because if you can't, it's not you that's going to get hurt, it's your partner. How many of you have been to an officer's funeral? How was it?
Not sure.
Did you know him?
Someone's like, wait, I get to kill kids? Oh, fucking based. I didn't realise that. I thought that'd be a bit frowned upon. But I get to kill kids, really? Oh, sweet. So I'm ready now. Let's go. Forget the rest of the training. Put me on the street.
How bad would that be if that was your partner and you knew that was your fault?
Life changing?
Way worse.
Over the past 10 years, 15 police officers died on the job in Utah, 10 of them killed by a suspect.
As you're walking the halls doing these trainings, there's this giant memorial to all the officers in Utah who have been killed. It's massive. The wall is this physical reminder of what they learn in training. If you mess up, it means either your life could be taken or your partner's life could be taken. And you're taught you don't want your name to end up on this wall.
You ready? All right, next up.
Many of the scenarios we observed would turn out to be worst case and end in a shooting.
I heard shots
Jesus.
inside. I'm too afraid to go in there. Please.
Like this one, where a woman calls 911 and says her husband and son have shot themselves.
Police, is anybody in there?
It's not long after the cadets show up that she ends up stabbing one of them.
Hey, get off! Bang, 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 bang! Just an officer down, roll medical.
And her husband wakes up and starts firing at the others.
I don't know why this scenario seems so funny to me. Oh my god. It's like, do you know what this is like? This is the real life police equivalent of when some debate bro does some crazy analogy, yeah? Okay, so what if you went to a house, okay, and the mother and the father and son had shot each other, and the mother's outside, and the mother says come inside, and you come inside, the mother starts stabbing your partner, so you shoot them, and then they get shot, but then the father gets up and they start shooting at you. What do you do in that situation? Is that self-defense? What do you do in that situation? Like, it's like a fucking crazy like debate bro analogy that they just created.
And this one.
I mean, yeah, that was like zombie
911.
dad. That was like a zombie dad. Look at this.
Wakes up and starts firing at
Look
the
at
others.
this. Zombie dad. He looks like Bub. You know, from Day of the Dead. Is it Day of the Dead? That film where they're all underground and there's Bub the zombie and they teach him to shoot a gun.
And this one,
We're just gonna let you out for the warning today, okay?
where a routine traffic stop turned into a hostage situation.
Oh, please. Oh my God.
Hey,
Oh my
hey,
God,
hey,
please.
hey, get out here.
Oh my God.
Stay in your car.
Every situation that we send police officers in doesn't require lethal force.
But it
But if we
should.
take an officer's career, how many situations are they going to be in, let's say, in a 20-year career? Thousands, right? But we only have these cadets for 5, 6 days, maybe 7 days at the most. So we have to take this experience of a 20-year career and condense that into a few days. And so we try and hit such a wide variety of scenarios to open their eyes to the possibility.
But the focus on worst-case scenarios has become increasingly controversial among experts in the field who are concerned about police shootings.
The essence of what we would call fear-based training is the training on the possibility of an action versus the probability of an action.
Randy Shrewsbury worked as a police officer in multiple departments around the country. He now advocates for reforming police training.
Oh, here we go. So we're getting.
We
into
showed him some
information.
of the scenarios we filmed at Post.
Oh, here we go. Fresh.
Part of the problem that we have resides in this scenario-based training because it's this kind of endless exploration of what could happen, for which then officers in every circumstance of their job is feeling some level of threat.
Yes.
But the problem becomes
exactly.
is that
like you know if your training is all about like these hostile scenarios, obviously you've got to give an accurate representation. But you know Is this maybe setting people up so they feel like there's threats everywhere, and that then leads to them taking certain actions? Do you know what I mean? Like, you've got to be realistic, and you got to give police the realistic perspective and stuff, right? But then it's like they come up with these crazy scenarios. Oh, the training they were doing apparently is only 5 days, but obviously police officer training's longer than that. I think it's like, is it a month or 2 months maybe? I'm not sure exactly.
When you're reacting to anecdotes or to situations that could possibly happen, you start to kind of create a narrative into the officer's mind, which is placing them on edge.
Get on the ground or I'm going to shoot you. Get out! Get on the ground now!
Hands are up. Black Lives Matter. You guys know the drill.
Why did you shoot?
Because large guys, they jumped out
Oh
of the
my
vehicle.
God,
Get
wait.
on the ground or I'm going to shoot you.
Jesus Christ! What the hell? Oh my God. What the hell? Like, if this was a real situation, that dude would be dead. Like, and the video would probably be all over social media. We're like, look, this person was walking towards him with their hands up and got shot. I don't think it's a joke, is it? I think this is a serious video. Yeah. I know de-escalation. It's called a double tap, okay? It's called a double tap. That's my de-escalation right there. Yeah, he did. Yeah, listen.
Get out! Get on the ground now!
Hands are up. Black Lives Matter. You guys know the drill.
Why did you shoot?
Because large guys, they jumped out of the vehicle. They're both coming at us.
Is this death or serious bodily injury?
No.
Why is our gun our first resort?
Panic button.
The reality is that policing is as safe as it's ever been. So it doesn't match up to this disproportionate emphasis that we place when we're constantly telling officers that at any moment they can be murdered, at any moment that they can be killed.
We brought these critiques to the director of Utah's Post program, Scott Stevenson.
Is it possible that by training with worst-case scenarios, cadets go out into the field with a heightened sense of paranoia?
Well, this is a point that's made, right? Is like, if you're given a tool, you're going to use it, you know? Now, obviously, America has got gun stuff and whatever, so, you know, the police have to be, the beat cops kind of, I think, have to be armed, because, you know, I don't think you can have it any other way with America being the way it is with guns. But that also means that they've got the tool there, and they're more likely to use it, right? You know? So, yeah. You know, if you give a man a plank of wood, right? If you give a man a plank of wood, and you say, right, I need you to screw these screws into the wood, and you give him like a manual, like, hand screwdriver, right? He'll use that. But if you say, right, you need to screw these screws in, and you give them a manual hand screwdriver, and you give them an electric screwdriver, well, they're probably going to use the electric screwdriver because it's there and it's easier, you know? So in a situation where your life is under threat, presumably you're more likely to go, if you're not like highly trained, you're more likely to reach for the thing that's gonna, you know, that's more likely to definitely put someone down than it's like, oh, did you see what I mean? Does that make sense? That's the way I see it.
Seeing threats where there might not actually be threats.
I think it's a valid observation.
Yeah, if every tool is a hammer, everything looks like a nail. Yeah.
How would you want us to train? If those situations are so infrequent, do you want somebody going in without any type of experience at all? And if so, how do you expect them to perform? We put officers in ugly situations. We really do. And then we expect it to be perfect every time. If I can teach them in that situation where the potential outcome is a shooting, then maybe they'll try to avoid it.
Damn. That was kind of shocking. Give a man some wood, screws in a screwdriver and a gun. They'll shoot the wood saying it threatened him with the screws. Yeah, damn. There we go. Well, that was an interesting piece of content. I'm glad I covered that. Thank you for whoever sent it to me. It was just a random thing that I covered, but yeah. We got a good piece of content out of that. Thank you. There we go, folks.
Hello. We haven't been properly
No.
introduced before. I'm Michael, by the way. You
Hi.
must be Alice.
Yeah.
Well, Alice, it seems we both got autism, haven't we?
Yeah.
Well, that's good to know. Describe yourself